Hey guys, Kenja, the Heresy. I'm going to go over real quick how to do these things. This is a simple video on a couple quick fixes that'll make life in LoSec a lot easier. You don't have to lay things out the way I do. You don't have to do them the way I do. Everyone can, over time, kind of builds it differently. Everyone's interface always ends up different. They go to different commands differently, but these are just kind of general rules or the quickest, most efficient path for how the game registers commands so that you can get efficient and hopefully after the first couple of these videos on quick guides and any fleet operation, basically anything you do down here, you're never going to run into a situation where somebody says to do something or you need to do something and you don't know how. It should all be really simple after this. So this is what we're going to cover right here in our first video. So I guess let's get to it. We'll start with keybinds. So if we go into escape, go to our shortcuts, you're going to notice a bunch of stuff that doesn't really make sense. Most of it you can skip. The main things that I change, and I do it specifically for just makes it easy on your brain basically, is I believe I've changed the tactical modes for the destroyers as just shift 1, 2, 3, even though I click them most of the time, because for some reason keyboard shortcuts seem to be a little bit iffy on how the game and server registers them. So certain things I click more than I hotkey, or if I do hotkey, I kind of spam it, as you'll see. In later videos, I'll cover probing, PvP, stuff like that, where all of these, I'm in LoSec, I can't leave it, so this is actually playing the game. We're not on a test server or anything like that. So in the future, the videos you see on combat and stuff like that that I do for demonstrations, those are victims. This is what I do. The align to, approach, all that stuff are default for me. You'll notice directional scan has been bound to space. That way, as I'm flying around, I can just hit the space bar every once in a while, and we'll scan away. That tells me everything that's around me. That is probably the number one thing to surviving in LoSec. You'll also notice increased probe range and decreased probe range have been bound to plus and minus, so that while I'm probing things, just plus minus right on the top of my keyboard, and then I bind backspace to refresh probe scan so that they actually go out and scan. That way I can just hotkey that instead of trying to slide those damn sliders. Those things drive me nuts. Let's make sure. Also rebind my module buttons. So my top row of modules is always bound to my F keys. My middle row is always bound to my number keys. And then my bottom row is not bound to any keys. And then another big one that people seem to miss out on a lot is drones. You'll notice here I kind of follow a theme. All drones engaged, just F. Return in orbit to R. Return the drone bay to Shift R. Launch them to Shift F. Reconnect, Control Shift R. So you'll notice defensive type things revolve around the R key, and offensive engagements for drones revolve around the F key. And I do that because QWE, ASDF are generally your keep at range, approach, align, orbit hotkey commands by default. Don't think there's anything else that's too crazy on here. Nope, everything else you can do however you please. So we've covered most of this. Remember, for probing, we did plus minus backspace for increase range, decrease range, and scan. Dscanning, we just did spacebar as refresh the dscan. Uh-oh, we're running out of time here. So before I take this break, because my server is shutting down, before I have this little edit, we're going to show manipulating chat. Fleet broadcast. And manipulating chat, and then I'll take a break when the server comes back up. I'll edit the video back together. So you'll notice down here in my chat windows, local is always its own window. This tells you everything that's in space while you're in lowsec around you. Wormhole space and nullsec are blacked out, so you can't rely on this. But as a lowsec player, it's very important that local is always on its own window. What's said in local doesn't honestly matter. You can block that all off, but you need to be able to see all the people that are in the local chat channel at all times. Here, we can set show text only for when people do talk, and here we can compact the member list instead of showing all those pictures, and that tells us right away, hey, there's 3 people in local. Blinks, all that, everything else on a different chat window. This is where you really communicate. It's kind of well-mannered in the beginning to just, the only thing really to put in local is good fight. But you can do whatever you want, it doesn't honestly matter. And now our fleet window. Let's close this fitting. So when you join a fleet, you'll see the chat channel pop up. It'll show this right here. We want to make sure that this guy looks like that, where he's got all 4 points. That means that your broadcasts, and these are your buttons to broadcast, you can bind them to whatever you want. I click them. Go to everyone to make sure they can see when you're broadcasting for armor, shield, capacitor, etc. Those are the main ones you want to watch. And then while you're flying around in a fleet, generally you want to be on History tab and go to Broadcast History. So you'll see, it won't let me because I'm docked, but any broadcasts that people do for targeting, etc., will all show up right here. And if a broadcasted target shows up right here in white text, you can actually control click right on that to lock it. You don't have to go to your overview. So this is pretty important. It can save you a lot of time. You can also see loot history and all that stuff right here. Know who took your shit. So that covers our what we can go over at the moment. When the server comes back up, we'll touch up on these last few points and get busy killing people.